The more we learn about this, the sketchier it gets.
Tonight, after a cyanide spill at a Yukon mine, the company is saying it may not be able to clean it up.
I just felt lost because I didn't know what to do.
Part 2 of our story on a mom's experience with Jordan's principal that leaves her stranded in a Winnipeg hospital.
It's so awesome to see something like this from my reserve. The things that are finally happening here.
And the opening of a casino south of Edmonton has the residents of Louis Bull tribe celebrating. Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. The company behind a cyanide spill at a Yukon mine last month says they can't promise they'll be able to clean it up. Sarah Connors reports that has First Nations and environmental groups wondering if the company is facing bankruptcy.
On June 24th, there was a major equipment failure at Victoria Gold's Eagle mine site in north central Yukon. The failure damaged the mine's heap leach pad, a process used to extract ore and gold, causing cyanide to spill into the environment. On Friday, the company said in a public statement it didn't know if it would be able to restart production or if it could provide the cash needed to fix the site.
The more we learn about this, the sketchier it gets.
The statement has raised eyebrows at Mining Watch Canada, which advocates for responsible mining. The organization says most of the company's money was tied up in the heap leach pile.
They don't have the cash flow, they don't have any other operations, they don't have a lot of reserves, so it wouldn't be at all surprising if they go belly up as a result of this.
The Canadian Parks and Wilderness Society's Yukon branch says it's not a matter of if the mine goes bankrupt, but when. That's because its $104 million security is based on a closure plan, one that doesn't account for a heap leach failure and environmental contamination.
It assumes that the heap leach is going to be there so that they can detoxify the cyanide. The heap leach is destroyed, the pumping system is destroyed. It makes cleanup a lot more complex and a lot more expensive.
We're very disappointed to hear that announcement by Vic Gold.
Chief Donna Hope of the First Nation of Nacho-Nayakdun says she was surprised by the announcement. The mine is located on their traditional territory. But Hope says her First Nation has bigger concerns than Victoria Gold's financial situation. It recently received information that the mine's events ponds are close to being full.
Once they are full, they're going to start overflowing. That is the biggest concern to us. There's impending disasters beyond the disaster that occurred June 24th.
APTN reached out to Victoria Gold for comment. They have yet to respond. Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
Thanks, Sarah. You can find more on that story over on our website, aptnnews.ca. With their focus on healthcare, the Premier's meeting continued in Halifax, Nova Scotia today. Northern Premiers held a press conference early in the day to talk about issues important to them, such as Arctic sovereignty, natural resources, and consulting Indigenous leaders in healthcare legislation.
And so we did something very progressive in that we did not have a health authority, which were one of the only regions, but what we did do is we had First Nations leaders come to the table, and they actually were part of the architecture of the legislation, because folks really, I think across the country, you're going to see people feel underrepresented in our healthcare system. So it's incredibly important for people to see themselves in the delivery.
Nunavut holds 22 of the 31 critical minerals that are identified, with iron ore just being added as well. So from that lens, there's incredible opportunity in terms of unlocking and supplying Canada the resources that they need. The challenge, as I had mentioned, is the lack of infrastructure to get those to market.
Chiefs across the country supported Ontario First Nations' challenge against the carbon pricing. It happened in a resolution passed at the Assembly of First Nations meeting in Montreal last week. It appears to fit neatly into Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre's playbook, but as Annette Francis reports, it's not that simple.
Last week, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre addressed chiefs from across the country at the Assembly of First Nations meeting in Montreal. A big part of his message is that he will axe the carbon tax if elected Prime Minister.
Axe the tax means canceling a carbon tax that is making food and groceries more unaffordable for everyone, but especially for First Nations people. Because of the remote and colder weathers that you must confront, this tax is particularly cruel and unjust, and that is why I support the Chiefs of Ontario and their judicial review to counter this unjust tax burden.
The Chiefs of Ontario filed a court challenge last year against the federal government that the carbon tax isn't fairly applied on First Nations. For example, First Nations people often don't file tax returns, so they're not benefiting from the carbon tax rebate. The Chiefs in Assembly voted to support a resolution calling on the federal government to stop this kind of discriminatory treatment. According to Regional Chief Abram Benedict, that means cross-country support in their legal battle.
And so we know that a number of our communities, predominantly the ones northern and remote communities, don't file income taxes. And so, and these communities are the ones that are directly impacted the most by having the carbon charge on the fuel that's delivered into their communities. And so, the disadvantage to our members is a huge part of our action against Canada, and they haven't given any consideration to our communities.
But Grand Chief Benedict said it's not just about axing the tax. Ontario First Nations support a way to address climate change as well.
A number of our remote and northern communities are directly affected by climate change, and so winter roads are not the same. The water is either causing a lot of problem, or there is none. The migration of moose and caribou and of the like has changed because of climate change. So we're definitely supportive of actions that help combat climate change. Now, we're not supportive of a regime that financially disadvantages our communities. So I want to be clear that we need to address climate change across this country, but it can't be at the expense of First Nations. So the axe the tax, right, is fine, but it doesn't mean that we don't need strategies to address climate change.
Benedict says he remains optimistic that the federal government will reverse the tax for First Nations before it goes to court. Annette Francis, APTN National News, Ottawa.
We'd like to hear what you think about the carbon tax or anything else you see here or would like to see here. Here's how to continue the conversation. If you have a story you want to share, send us an email to news@aptn.ca. To read and watch our stories, you can go over to our website. That's aptnnews.ca. You can also find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. Time to step aside for a quick break. Coming up, we continue our look at a mother whose experience with Jordan's principal left her stranded at a Winnipeg hospital. Stick around. Welcome back. On Monday, we shared the story of a mother from Kisikuwin in Ojibwe First Nation who's cutting ties with the Jordan's Principal program after a negative experience left her and her child stranded at a Winnipeg hospital. Today, APTN's Sierra Bettens brings you part 2 of that story.
In the first part of this 2-part series, we heard from Laura Bone, the mother of 4-year-old Jade living with severe health issues. While Jade was receiving treatment at Health Sciences Center in Winnipeg, Bone says she was left scrambling to find a way to cover her medical expenses after she was allegedly told she was not supposed to be using Jordan's Principal to cover hotel costs.
I just felt lost because I didn't know what to do. It's like, I don't know, I was just trying to be there for her. Like, I just wanted her to get better, and I don't know, it just hurt me that they did that to us.
Both the HSC and Kisikuinen Jordan's principal offices said they don't deny requests for services. Neither will comment on Bone's specific case due to confidentiality. Today, we investigate what contributed to Bone's troubling experience. We'll learn she and Jade aren't the only family to fall through the cracks in the Jordan's principal system. In March, Indigenous Services Canada estimated that its Jordan's principal sector had a backlog of between 40 and 82,000 requests. 2 months earlier, the First Nations Child and Family Caring Society filed a non-compliance motion to the Human Rights Tribunal, claiming Canada is not delivering on Jordan's principle in a timely manner. Cindy Blackstock, executive director of the society, said in Manitoba, only 18% of individual urgent requests and 6% of urgent group requests are processed on time. She says the backlog in Manitoba is between 8 and 16,000 requests. But the problem goes beyond backlogs. Blackstock said bureaucratic barriers between government departments are common for families trying to access Jordan's principle.
You'll have them doing what they did to this mom, which is say, you need to figure out if it's covered under First Nations Inuit Health Branch. No. That's not the way it's supposed to work. It is the government department of first contact. They pay for the service and then they figure it out back of house.
In Bone's case, she says she was told to access non-insured health benefits, or NIHB, to cover costs. That put up another barrier while her daughter had pneumonia.
Because I'm so worried about her that I didn't have the time to be trying to run around and look for a place and but I just stood by her bed, cried for a while and looked at her, and then I recall the conversation, and then I thought, okay, well, who's NIHB?
Kisikuinen's Jordan's principal coordinator, Victoria McKay, told APTN that medical transportation, which includes accommodations, is covered under NIHB. She said Jordan's principal will fill any gaps and will never deny services. In a phone interview, Kisikuinen's health director, James Bone, said bureaucrats with the First Nations and Inuit Health Branch, or FNIHB, told Jordan's principal case managers that accommodations were to be redirected to NIHB.
And Health Canada came in there and from non-insured, and they made a presentation to the case managers and said, this is how it's going to work. Any of your clients going to the city from now on have to access for accommodations, must access through this process from now on, regardless of where you are funded, where you're at in your community.
Ryan Tyndall speaks for Indigenous Services Canada. He confirmed that FNIHB presented on NIHB medical transportation benefits to an Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs Technical Advisory Group in March. He also said that anyone eligible for NIHB coverage could get their help from medical transportation costs as a first step, but they could still receive coverage from Jordan's principal. Back to Blackstock, she stresses that Jordan's principle was created to end departmental and jurisdictional disputes over who should provide coverage, disputes that hinder First Nations families from getting care for their children.
One of the worst things that happened to Jordan River Anderson, the founder of Jordan's principle, is Manitoba and Canada would keep on passing the buck about who should pay, and while that little boy suffered in the hospitals.
Whether Bone's case happened because of departmental disputes or not, she is cutting ties with the program she's relied on for 3 years, refusing to use Jordan's principle to help her daughter. Bone hopes changes are made to prevent other families from going through what she did.
If any of that has happened to anybody else, I know the feeling, and I'm very sorry that you had to go through it. Right, Jade? Because nobody deserves that.
Sierra Bettens, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Time for one last break. Still to come, a big day for the Louis Bold tribe in southern Alberta.
We are proud to have 51% of our employees Indigenous and from our nation and from the surrounding nations.
Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. It's summertime in Stanley Park, located in Vancouver, British Columbia. Charmaine Straker shared this wonderful photo of the totem poles display found in the park and says it's a must-see in person. You can send your photos to share@aptn.ca for the chance to be our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, showers in 26 in Halifax, 30 with rain in Fredericton. 17 in Kuujjuaq, rain, and 10 in Nain. Showers in 28 in Montreal, rain, and 20 for Val-d'Or. 19 with showers in Sault Ste. Marie, rain in North Bay with a high of 22. Cloudy and 23 for Thunder Bay, 22 in Sioux Lookout. In northern Manitoba, sunny and 22 in God's Lake, 26 in Churchill. Sunny and 24 in Winnipeg, 25 under the sun in Dauphin. 27 in Regina, 28 in Saskatoon. 31 in Meadow Lake, rain, and 28 in La Ronge. In northern Alberta, it's a hot one, 34 in High Level, 35 under the sun in Grand Prairie. 33 for Edmonton, 34 in Lethbridge. 26 in Vancouver, 39 for Kamloops. 33 in showers in Prince George, 30 for Smithers. 17 with rain in Old Crow, 15 and showers in Whitehorse. 27 in Yellowknife, 34 in Trout Lake. 14 in Sax Harbor, 10 with rain in Pawatuck. Cloudy and 11 in Chesterfield, 25 in Arviette. 8 in Resolute, 11 and cloud in Joe Haven. Members of a nation on BC's Central Coast have made the trek to Victoria to bring back a treasure. As CTV's Anna McMillan shows us, the Royal BC Museum is returning a chief seat to the Halsuck Nation.
A blessing in Victoria before a long journey to Bella Bella.
We're here to celebrate the homecoming of this beautiful seat.
A homecoming to the Halsuck Nation. This chief seat, or settee, was carved by Captain Richard Carpenter around 1900.
He was a master of woodwork.
Carpenter was a hereditary chief, so this was his seat. It was purchased in 1911 and has been at the Royal BC Museum ever since.
We've only been able to see much of his work in museums.
Museums around the world, from New York to Berlin. This is the first of Carpenter's treasures to come home.
He has hundreds of descendants that are alive and, carrying on, his legacy.
Many of Carpenter's descendants were here to receive the chief seat, including his great-grandson, Steve Carpenter.
Our family, in their own way, are taking up the leadership role. And I'm kind of proud of that. They're carrying on the tradition that my great-grandfather started, or carried on from his grandfather, probably.
The cedar seat will be boxed up and driven back to Bella Bella, where it will be unveiled at a community feast.
For that to go home, to be part of our community again, is huge for me.
The nation brought 3 items home during the pandemic and is in talks with the Royal BC Museum to have others returned.
The reclamation and the repatriation of our treasures coming home has been something that our elders have dreamed of, and it's, becoming a reality.
A reality experienced by other nations, including the New Hulk, who had a totem returned from the RBCM last year.
It feels like Captain is coming home.
Anna McMillan, CTV News, Victoria.
The Louis Bull tribe, about an hour south of Edmonton, recently celebrated the opening of their newest project, the Bear Hills Casino and Travel Resort. APTN's Chris Stewart visited the new location and tells us how it is helping the community.
It's 10 in the morning and the casino is quiet. No sounds from electronic games, from dealers, or from roulette wheels. Not yet. The Bear Hills Casino and Travel Resort doesn't open for another hour. A perfect opportunity to talk to some of the people who work here. The casino opened on June 19th. It still has that new casino smell. Featuring 200 slot machines, 10 table games with poker, blackjack, and roulette, a restaurant and lounge, and a smoking section with state-of-the-art air filters. It's been in the making for years, according to Erica Bolgeroux, the executive director of the Bear Hills Casino Society.
When the idea started, like when there was pen to the paper, it was to help our future generations in everything, like, and not depend on the government, so we can be self-sufficient and have a thriving Cree Nation.
The 2,400-member First Nation also owns a golf course, an RV park, and a Petro-Canada station is being built beside the casino on Highway 2 between Calgary and Edmonton. Erica Bolgeroux says it was important to hire from the community.
We are proud to have 51% of our employees Indigenous and from our nation and from the surrounding nations. And that's one of the goals that we shot for.
Employees like Virgil Bull, who works in maintenance. He's from the Louisville tribe.
It's so awesome to see something like this for my reserve. The things that are finally happening here. Like, this building has been, 30 years in the making? And the fact that I get to work here and it's so new, it's amazing. Like, the building is great. The location is awesome. Our gas bar will be opening soon, so that'll generate for the community as well.
Bull has been here for only 3 weeks since the opening, but he is loving the experience.
Working here is probably one of the better jobs that I've had. Like, I love it here. I get to work with a lot of my family members, which is amazing. I met a lot of new people already. I'm very outgoing, so I know probably almost everybody in the building already by first name basis, which is nice because, like I said, I love it here. I won't quit until they tell me to leave.
Chris Stewart, APTN National News, at the Bear Hills Casino and Travel Resort on the Louisville Tribe, Alberta.
Looks like a place one might want to visit. That's all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Tuesday. For news anytime, you can visit our website, aptnnews.ca. And be sure to join Creason here tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for your first look at the day's news. I'm Dennis Ward. Marcy McGuitch, thanks for being with us. Stick around, an encore presentation of Face to Face is next. Have a good day.